So when I'm helping a project manager with scope creep, I am thinking and trying to relate it to being in the loop, is what I like to call it. Project management is about being in the loop. And the loop starts with communication. So if you have a loop where you guys are talking back and forth and there's healthy levels of communication, staying in the loop is the most important thing because you will find that decisions are being made. And if you're not in the loop, you're not included in those decisions. So the one thing to kind of relate this and think about this, have you ever been in a situation where you've got new, fresh friends? You just met these people. They're so cool. They're so exciting. You guys have your own new inside jokes. You have your own fresh um, hangouts, good bars you like to go to, good places you like to eat, and definitely people that you want to avoid. So you guys create this group where you're like, yeah, we want to keep these people out, and we want to let certain people in, and we want to do all of our things together, so forth and so on. And have you ever noticed with those great friends after that kind of honeymoonish phase goes away, and then you see how people kind of are? One day you guys are hanging out and talking or whatever, have spent a little time away from each other, and then they say that they want to go do something else, and you realize, man, I'm out of the loop. Like I haven't been a part of the loop, and it's been this way for a while. That is how I talk to a project manager about scope creep. They have been kept out of the loop for whatever reason. And there are probably multiple reasons why the project manager has been taken out of the loop, so to speak. However, it's definitely happened. It's very clear that it's happened, and it's something that does not happen immediately. It's not one of those things that just smacks you in the face, or it's not one of those things that's just big precipice moment. It's more of a death by a thousand cuts type of thing. And if you're paying attention to it, you can kind of see the first cut, and then you can kind of identify it and see its pattern of origin, and then kind of follow that, and then start to come up with your own approach to being kept out of the loop. Because let's be very clear, like we tell our children, like we've been told, there will be a time in your life where you're kept out of the loop. There'll be a time in your life where there'll be some uncomfortable moments. And if you don't learn how to deal with them early, you won't know how to deal with them later on. So, kind of going over this, and it's really an interesting thing when I'm talking to a project manager. A lot of people have this idea like we've got a handle on it. We figured out scope creep was a problem. We figured out that, this thing that started off with one or two little changes here or there. They didn't fill out a change request, didn't really tell me about it, but it wasn't supposed to be a big deal. And now all of a sudden it's over and over and over. And now things have, in other words, I've added all these things to the project scope to this box, but I haven't expanded the box. So I'm stuck with all of these extra requirements with the same timelines and budget and so forth and so on. However, we realize that's the thing, but we've got a handle on it. We know what we're doing now, and we've got it all pretty much taken care of. And when you look at the numbers, it's really very, very interesting because amongst project managers, they feel like they kind of have a handle on it. And to be honest, as we're in groups and as I'm listening to different people that are in the groups are focused on their certifications, they're focused on other areas. And it's almost like, oh, this is a thing of the past and we know what we're doing now. However, if you look at a project manager's um, workload over a year span of time, and when I looked at these numbers, I did it from a very, very conservative place. So scope creep happens in significantly about half, if not a little bit over half of every project. There's going to be multiple elements of scope creep in every different project, and sometimes one main element, sometimes all different four different types. However, assuming that a project manager only handles three projects per quarter. And that's a conservative number. Some people like to say 3 to 5, some say 3 to 20. It's a conservative number, so I just said three is the minimum. Project managers handling three per quarter on 4 quarters, so 12 in a year. Half of them are experiencing scope creep. So 30 of their projects, or I'm sorry, excuse me, 12 of their projects in a year, half of them are experiencing scope creep. There was a study that was done on scope creep that it says 92% of projects have failed with scope creep at the very, very top of their list of things that have gone wrong. So in 5 years, if you did 12 projects and six of them a year, you were dealing with this, you were seeing different areas of scope creep in your projects and you were seeing them fail. That means in 5 years you had 30 projects fail because of something that we think that we have a hold of. It doesn't seem like we have that much of a hold of it. This study was done maybe 2 years ago, and it seems as though these numbers, even though we've seen a little downtrend in scope creep, the outcome is still very much so the same. So I think the solution is developing an approach that is not convoluted or taking over how a project manager operates, but it's also making sure that they're not vulnerable to the effects of scope creep. They're handling it on a very fast pace, and they're also making statements that are going to aim people towards change requests, aim people towards healthy versions of change instead of just like, hey, let's go around the process. So that's where I think that we find ourselves is going around the process and around actually instilling healthy signs of change without um, dealing with things that are not so healthy. So again, project managers, a lot of times when you talk to them, they think like, yeah, we got a handle on this, but realistically, we don't have a handle on scope creep. We need to learn how to deal with it faster. We need to learn how to address it on a level that's going to keep people progressively getting their project growth going and continuously going. Having your team engaged and then stakeholder buy-in is so important. Keeping them engaged in what you're doing, but not just engaged on a level where they trust you and they're ready to come along and buy into whatever you have going on because they know that you're going to do things where from a right standpoint. So in other words, if there's going to be any change or scope creep, everybody on your team is going to know what to do and how to do it. They're not going to be guessing or wondering, oh well, how do we deal with the project scope now? Because one of the things that you look at with project scope, which sometimes some people early in project management may have this confusion about, project management is about managing a project that's an extension of the foundation of the business. It's not the foundation of the business. They're trying to expand, they're trying to create an extension. So, this is another area that leaves you vulnerable to scope creep because it's an extension, it's not the foundation. There are more risks being taken because it's an extension. There are less risks taken with the foundation because if the foundation cracks, everything's gone. But if an extension cracks, you can let that go and the foundation's still running. So overall, what you find a lot of times, is understanding where take the idea of project management is a risk. So since we're taking that risk, making sure that we're having everybody focused on making healthy changes and how to make healthy changes so we don't have to lose projects because of scope creep. All right, so I'll see you guys here in the next video. Talk to you soon.